Hello and welcome back to Off Grid Style. I'm Nikki, and today we are discussing the top 10 crises that are currently being faced by the United States. Obviously, there's probably many more than 10, and if I listed all of them and talked about all of them in length, this video would be 2 hours long because I babble, as some of you may know. So I am trying to condense them down into 10 broader topics that I can mention briefly. So if you think I left one out, or you've thought of one yourself, or whatever the case might be, please go ahead and let me know in the comments. So let's get started finding out what the top 10 crises the U.S. is facing right now are. Cybersecurity threats. These are of huge concern, especially as other governments, other entities are invading our space more and more with maybe things that float in the air and etc. Cyber attacks are already happening every single day in the United States. The good news is that none of them have been of a massive scale. If they were, or if they ever do happen, they will target our critical infrastructure, our private companies, and our government system. And this poses a threat to and a huge risk to our national security, our data privacy, and our economic stability. We are in the midst of a public health crisis. The pandemic has had far-reaching impacts on public health, the economy, and daily life. It has challenged healthcare systems, and it has required quick and not always well thought out responses. And now with the influx of people at our borders, we are facing not necessarily new threats, but ones we thought were eradicated, like TB, malaria, and dengue fever, just to name a couple. Infrastructure decay is also another concerning issue in the United States. Our roads, our bridges, and even our public transportation are all aging and all decaying. Most of our bridges we still use today were built in the infrastructure boom post-World War II. That means the 1950s, or almost 80 years ago. We need significant investment to ensure safety, economic growth, and proactive planning for the future. The opioid and drug epidemic. This remains and will continue to remain a major public health crisis. There is widespread addiction and overdose deaths. When you start hearing about grandpas and grandmas that are addicted to meth, you know that there's an issue. It needs a comprehensive approach to prevention and treatment. That does not mean having cities allow and provide safe spaces and paraphernalia for people to use drugs out in public. That's not the answer. The answer is to nip it in the bud before they get to that point. The crisis of the consequences of defunding the police and gun violence. U.S. citizens, we are constantly seeing more and more violence on the news. Crime rates are skyrocketing. Crimes that were once felonies are now not even being prosecuted. We are seeing mayors of cities try to negotiate with crime people and gangs, saying, hey, could you only use your weapons on each other during certain times of the day? What is that? Defunding the police has not worked. There must be an equal amount of time spent and investment in the underlying issues. Poverty, lack of food security, mental health issues. And the threat of jail for those who break the law cannot be removed or banished because our society will become lawless. If you are liking my fiery little video about the crises that we are facing, please like, subscribe, comment, say hello, let me know you were here. Let me know what you think and any ideas you have or things that I might have not mentioned that you would mention. Thanks very much. And this one is a very sore subject and causes division wherever it is discussed. Environmental concerns. Okay, the bottom line is we are still coming out of an ice age, and we have been for about 11,000 years. So our changing climate continues to pose new threats in extreme weather that you've never experienced before. We're having higher highs, we're having lower lows, we're having more earthquakes, more storms, heat emergencies, all kinds of disasters. We need to learn to adapt and be proactive about these natural changes in our climate rather than freak out and react. The purposeful social division of the people of this country, and believe me, this is on purpose, and that's about all I'm going to say about that portion of this little part of the video. Calls for racial justice and equality and equity have gained momentum, as well as a discussion of perceived systemic racism and being woke. These topics, as well as the immigration crisis, are causing more and more internal turmoil in our country. That's an issue, and it's one we need to solve. And speaking of another purpose-driven crisis that we are facing, political division is growing. It is a purposeful and completely and totally, I'm dead serious, on purpose, widening of the gap in belief systems and the ability to speak to each other and have differing opinions but still be okay with each other of the different factions of the U.S. population. And it is further fueled by the talking heads with their own agendas, and this includes many in the government, and it impacts policymaking, it affects social cohesion, and the overall functioning or lack of functioning of our government. The economic crisis, and you probably are like, oh no, I saw on the news that it's good, we're doing great. No, we're not doing great. And they want you to believe we're doing great because there's an election coming up. But the economy is in a very, very precarious situation. Inflation, the devaluation of the dollar, worsening supply chain issues, food insecurity, crop failures, rising gas prices, job losses, business closings, market volatility, bank closures. There's been a few of those lately. Loss of retirements, the housing bubble, controversial spending on foreign interests. All of those create an uncertainty about any type of long-term recovery or stability in our country. The U.S. is facing massive international challenges related to global power shifts, to trade tensions, diplomatic relations, and these are all primarily based on foreign interest choices that the United States is making currently. Many countries are opting out of the US dollar as their main form of currency. They have created their own systems. They're bonding together against us, and this further devalues the US economy. Okay, Nick, yes, spelled all this out for me. So what do we do? First of all, it's essential to stay informed, and that's pretty much all the time. But stay informed from reliable sources, not the mainstream media. They are not reliable. Every single one of them now has an agenda. And if you don't believe that, then you're pretty naive. There is a channel here on YouTube called Redacted. I highly recommend it. You will hear all kinds of things that you'll never hear in the regular news cycles. All of the topics I've mentioned today are a recipe for natural disaster or a major disaster or an economic disaster, whatever it might be, but they are all major. If the majority or all of these crises hit their climaxes at or near the same time, it will destroy the United States as we know it. This is why it's time to prepare and become more self-sufficient, because the government is not going to be able to help you. You are going to have to help yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was pretty hefty and serious, but it is something that everybody needs to realize and know about. Research, do your own diligence to find out what's going on. Don't just depend on other people. Thank you. Subscribe, like, comment, say hello, tell me what you thought of the video, and I hope you all have a great day.